The dining room looked exactly the same as always. The heavy chairs, the shiny oak table, the soft jazz humming from the speaker in the corner. Mom made her roasted squash like every holiday since I was a kid. Dad carved the turkey with neat, careful hands, the way he used to move in the OR. For a minute, I almost believed nothing had changed. Then he passed me the potatoes and smiled like everything was normal. "Is the $2,000 enough each month?" he asked. My fork slipped. I stared at him. "What money?" The room went still. Even the music seemed to fade. Dad's smile fell away. He turned to Mom. She didn't look up. "I don't understand," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I haven't gotten anything." "Leona," Dad said. His voice was sharp but not shouting. "Not yet." She dabbed her mouth with a napkin and set it down. "I thought it would be better used somewhere else." "Better used?" His voice climbed. "You said you'd handle the transfers." "I did," she said. "To who?" he asked. "Because it wasn't to Iris." Mom reached for her water and I saw her hand shake. "Soraya's program costs more. She needs it. Fashion is brutal." "And Iris is supposed to just scrape by while our other daughter walks through rodeo?" Dad said. "No, how long?" Mom sighed. "Since August." Dad turned to me. "You've had nothing? No transfers at all?" I shook my head. "I asked once. Mom said there wasn't anything left after tuition." His shoulders slumped. "I thought you were okay." "I've been working nights," I said. "Tutoring, bar shifts, skipping meals. But sure, I'm fine." Mom's chair creaked as she stood. "Don't do this now, it's Thanksgiving." Dad didn't get up. He just looked at me like he was seeing me clearly for the first time in years. "I need air," I said. I slipped into the hallway. Everything felt too quiet, too familiar. I stepped outside, hugged my jacket tight, and tried to breathe. The fall semester ran together after that. Days and nights blurred until my calendar had no empty space. Anatomy lab in the morning, tutoring in the afternoon, bar shifts stretching past midnight. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Just until I caught up. Just until the rent cleared. Just until I could stop counting every dollar. Most mornings I skipped breakfast. Lunch was whatever I could grab. Between buildings, usually a protein bar and black coffee. Dinner was instant ramen, or the day-old pastries the campus cafe tossed at close. My shoes were coming apart at the soles. I stapled them back together during a Friday night shift. Hands shaking from the long week, my body finally called me out. I remember it clearly. A tray of drinks in my hand, music too loud, someone waving me down, heat blooming behind my eyes, and then nothing. When I woke up, a white ceiling hung above me, and a slow monitor beep kept time with the IV in my arm. The nurse asked if I had someone to call. I told her no. Later, my manager said he'd called my parents after the ambulance came. "No answer," he said. "Left messages, figured they'd show." They didn't. 2 days later, Callan, my lab partner, knocked on my door without asking first. He'd heard through friends. He set a bag of groceries on my counter and a pan of baked ziti still warm from the oven. "You look like you're disappearing," he said. I pulled my hoodie close and sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm fine," I said. He didn't argue. He handed me a plate and sat across from me in quiet. I took a bite. It was warm and real, and I had to swallow hard so I wouldn't cry into my food. That night, I slept 12 hours straight for the first time in months. In the morning, I checked my phone. 2 messages from Mom. The first? "Glad you're okay. Can you send Soraya that skincare brand you liked?" The second? "Don't forget to eat." I deleted both. Later that week, Soraya posted a video from a sunny brunch spot in West Hollywood. Her face glowed in good light. The caption said, "No better way to start the day. Thanks, Mom." I stared for a long time. Then I opened my banking app. A crack ran across my phone screen, cutting through faces and text. It made everything look a little split. I didn't want to scroll, but I couldn't stop myself. Her next post was a rooftop lounge, velvet chairs, gold rims on the drinks, expensive light everywhere. She wore a cream silk dress tagged Dior, hair done in a way that probably cost more than my food for a week. The caption? Mom always knows exactly what I need. Brunch, life, style, gifted. I set my phone face down and leaned back against my bed. My ceiling flaked paint I never had time to fix. The mini fridge buzzed too loud in the corner. I hadn't bought fresh vegetables in 3 weeks. A month earlier, I'd emailed Mom to ask if she could help me buy a new anatomy atlas. Mine was falling apart, pages missing, water stains from a cup I knocked over during an all-nighter. She wrote back the next day. That's a luxury, Iris. You'll have to make do. That same week, Soraya posted her new Balenciaga boots. Thanks to my amazing mom for always supporting the dream. I could hear Soraya's voice like it used to sound. Smooth, effortless. I wasn't angry, not exactly. I felt hollow. Like, the part of me that used to hope someone would notice the difference had finally gone quiet. I wasn't asking to be spoiled. I just wanted to stop rationing Tylenol. I picked up my phone again. Soraya had a new story. A quick clip of her laughing. On a balcony with the city behind her. Soft jazz in the background. I watched it 3 times, muted it, then opened the camera. My room was too dim for anything to look good, but I took a picture anyway. Cracked nails, rough fingers, the same gray hoodie I'd worn for 4 days. I didn't post it. I scrolled to her name and pressed call. She answered on the second ring, bright as ever. Iris, you never call. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied. Just wanted to check in. It's been a while. You miss me? She teased. Sure, I said. My voice came out thinner than I meant. She went on about a shoot in Pasadena, about a stylist she didn't like, about the almond milk shortage at her favorite cafe. I listened while I counted the unpaid bills on my desk. After a while, I asked, how do you manage it all? LA isn't cheap. Oh, she said, casual. Mom handles it. She wires me $3,500 every month. Sometimes more if I have shoots or events. My mouth went dry. That's great. Yeah, she said. She just gets at you. No? She always says it's about investing in the dream. Anyway, how are classes? After that, I couldn't hear much. I said, and that's cool, in the right places. When we hung up, I stared at my reflection in the window. I looked washed out and smaller, like something had been peeled away. I opened a new tab and searched flights. The cheapest? One had 2 layovers and a 6-hour delay, but it would get me to Chicago in time for Thanksgiving dinner. I clicked book. Then I closed my laptop, pushed the pile of bills aside, and started packing. I didn't know what I would say when I got there. I only knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. And I knew the table we sat at would never feel the same again. We ended up at the kitchen table the next day. Sunlight came in through the same windows where I used to press my spelling tests and wait for praise. The meal was simple. Lentil soup, chicken salad, nothing fancy, but more than I'd eaten in weeks. I took 2 bites and set down my fork. You've lost weight, Dad said. I shrugged. I guess. You okay? Define okay. He frowned. What do you usually eat? Instant noodles, discounted sandwiches, leftovers from work, if I'm lucky. He paused. Is the $2,000 not covering enough? I looked at him. He wasn't teasing. He really didn't know. There were no transfers, Dad. Not one. His fork hit the plate. He turned to Mom. Leona. She kept her eyes on her bowl. The quiet stretched until it hurt. I've been sending it to Soraya, she said, calm like she had practiced. The line. She needs it more. Dad's mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. She's in fashion, Byron, Mom said quickly. It's expensive. She has events. She has people to meet. She has to keep up a certain image. And I don't need to eat? I asked. Mom flinched like my voice surprised her. I'm not saying you don't need help, she said carefully. I just thought, you're stronger. You always manage. Soraya is more sensitive. Dad stood up slowly. You told me you'd send it. Every month. For Iris. You let me think she was fine. She always is, Mom said louder. Dad looked at me again. The shock in his face had turned into something heavier. Guilt. I pushed back my chair. I came here for answers, I said. I didn't think they would be this simple. Mom turned toward me, but I was already in the hall. Her voice faded as I shut my door. That night, Dad knocked. I didn't answer, but he opened the door slowly like he wasn't sure he had the right. I couldn't sleep, he said. I keep going over everything. I waited. She told me she was sending it every month. I thought you were okay. Comfortable. I didn't speak. He sat on the edge of my bed. Remember when Soraya got her car? I nodded. I got maybe next year. He blew out a breath like the memory stung now. I said we could only afford one car. She told me you didn't mind. I did, I said. He nodded slowly. This summer you wanted that medical camp. She said you changed your mind, said you wanted to stay home and save money. I cried. For a week when she told me we couldn't afford it, I said. Soraya went to Italy that summer. He looked away. I should have asked more questions, he said. She made it easy not to. He sat in silence for a long time. She always said you were independent, he added. That you didn't need as much. That you'd find a way. She wasn't wrong, I said. I did find a way. I just shouldn't have had to. His jaw tightened. This isn't about strength, Iris. It's about fairness. And I missed it. For too long. I could hear them arguing downstairs again. Mom's voice sharp about loyalty. His voice lower, angrier. I closed my eyes. It wasn't just about the money. It hadn't been for a long time. The next morning, I found Dad in his study, glasses low, scrolling bank statements. He didn't hear me right away. Iris, he said when he looked up, I need you to know I didn't just believe your mother. I handed her access to what? I asked. The trust, he said. The one for you and Soraya, split evenly. I thought it was locked until you turned 25, but she's been moving money into a separate account with only Soraya's name. He rubbed his temples. 250,000 so far. I felt something shift inside me. Not shock, just confirmation. What now? I already called the attorney. We're starting the process to reverse the transfers. It'll take time. I nodded because I didn't know what else to do. That night the arguing grew sharper. You didn't even ask me, Dad shouted. That money was for both our daughters. She needs it more, Mom snapped. I did what was best for her. Not for us, he said. Not for Iris. Hearing my name like that, loud, defended, not brushed aside, hit me in a place I didn't have words for. I stood at the top of the stairs listening. I trusted you, he said, softer now. And you stole from our child. I turned away before I heard what she said back. I already knew the shape of it. 2 days later, Soraya called. Her voice was tight. Mom said I'm only getting 1,000 a month now. Is that true? Yeah, I said. Dad's handling things now. She let out a sharp breath. I can't live on that. Rent, classes, materials. I know, I said. She waited like I was about to solve it for her. I didn't. Do you think this is fair? She asked. I think it's overdue. She hung up. That night, I saw Mom sliding cash into an envelope. She didn't see me in the hall, but I knew who it was for. Later, Dad found out too. He didn't yell. He stood across from her in the kitchen and said, I can't do this anymore. She stared at him, dry-eyed. I was trying to protect her. And who was protecting Iris? He asked. Iris is fine, she said. She's always been fine. You keep saying that like it makes this okay, he said. I wanted the best for Soraya, she said. He shook his head. And what did Iris get? Mom didn't answer. The next morning, he called a lawyer. By the end of the week, he filed for legal separation. The house felt different, quieter, like something had cracked and let in air there hadn't been before. Mom moved like she was underwater. She cooked, folded laundry, moved old books around. But she didn't talk to me. Not really. I stayed. 2 more nights. The silence stretched between rooms until it was its own thing. When I zipped my bag to leave, she stood in the doorway with arms crossed like she wanted to speak, and couldn't. She didn't. Back in Philadelphia, my days changed. I dropped 2 shifts. The bar kept me on weekends. I kept tutoring because I liked the calm of explaining things. I slept more. I ate food that wasn't out of a packet. My grades climbed, not because I got smarter, but because I could breathe. I bought new sneakers, not fancy, just whole. They felt like an upgrade I had to earn twice, once in work, once in worth. Soraya texted more. At first it felt automatic, then it became real. She sent photos of outfits she styled at the boutique. "They're not designer, but I like them more," she wrote once. "They feel like mine." I didn't know what to say, so I typed, "I'm glad." One night she called out of nowhere. Her voice was quieter. "I think I see it now." "See what?" "What it cost you," she said. "All of it." The line went quiet long enough to feel honest. "I didn't want to believe it," she said, "because if I did, I'd have to admit Mom made things easier for me, and that meant she made things harder for you." I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. "I don't need you to feel guilty," I said. "Just don't pretend it was fair." "I won't," she said. We sat with the silence. I heard a soft clink on her side, probably tea. Soraya always hated alcohol. She didn't like the taste. That always made me smile. "Are you going home for the holidays?" she asked. "Not sure," I said. "Dad is. I might." "Maybe we could go together," she said. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no either. A year passed. I was still in Philly, still in school, but everything felt steadier. I slept. I ate. I studied without watching the clock like it wanted something from me. My professors noticed. So did I. Soraya stayed in LA, but she wasn't the same girl posting every brunch. She worked part-time at a boutique that cared about sustainable fashion. She made pieces from leftovers and talked more about craft than couture. The pride in her voice was quieter, but true. Mom worked at a home goods store. She said it was temporary. I didn't ask for more. Our calls were short and polite. There was space neither of us knew how to cross. Dad, though, called every week. Sometimes we talked about school. Sometimes we didn't. When he visited, he brought books and groceries, and listened like time wasn't something he had to ration anymore. One evening, Soraya called as I was leaving the library. "Thinking about going home for the holidays," she said. "To see Mom." I didn't answer. "Do you want to go together?" she asked, not for herself. "Just to do it right this time." There was a long quiet. She didn't rush it. She let it be. "Okay," I said. "Let's go." Christmas came without big speeches. We took an early flight with 2 carry-ons and a quiet knock at the door. Soraya and Dad went in first. I followed. Mom opened wearing a simple sweater I didn't know. Her hair had more gray. She smiled, but it didn't reach all the way. We sat at the same table where everything cracked. The food was plain. Roasted. Vegetables. A store-bought pie. Dry turkey. Dad overcooked. No one rewrote the past. No one pretended it hadn't happened either. That felt like a win. We passed dishes. Soraya praised the stuffing. Dad asked about my classes. Mom said retail. Ours were hard to get used to. It was honest. Not warm, but honest. Later, I unpacked in my old room. The walls looked smaller. I took out a plain white envelope, my tuition receipt, and set it in the drawer next to a note Dad wrote months ago. "This is yours," it said. "Not because you earned it, but because I finally saw you." I read it once more, then closed the drawer. For a long time, I believed love had to be proven, that silence meant strength, and strength meant not needing anything. I don't believe that now. I believe in being seen. And I think some stories don't end with healing. They begin with it.